Hello, everyone. Well, it's a challenge to follow such an array of distinguished speakers, so I'll try to be brief. Let me first start by thanking all of you, participants to this forum. We were about 700 people in total, 500 clients and partners. So thanks a lot for your engagement. You know, I've particularly enjoyed, and I hope you did too, the healthy mix of intellectual stimulation and social action. So thanks a lot. It's been a long morning, so I'll try to be very brief. I'd also like to, on your behalf, but you'll let us know with the warmth of your applause, I'd also like to thank the organizers, because it's a lot of work to put together such a program and all the logistics that go with it. We have two teams that work very hard on this event, one led by Elodie Legel, who is working on marketing at Amundi, and one led by David Abbey, who works on our events. So if you enjoyed today, now is the time to say it. So on a more serious note, I would like to share with you a few personal takeaways. I'm sure you all have yours, and I'm offering those as thought starters. So on a light note, and we were talking about new frontiers, I think over the last 2 days, I have heard pretty firm predictions, which I think is a new frontier in that type of forums. The first one I heard was from Simon Fraser predicting that Boris Johnson would be the next Prime Minister in the UK. So we will soon know. The second is we heard Carmen Reinhardt give her forecast on the Fed's rate cut actions. And unfortunately, not a lot of action to be expected, if I understand her correctly. Our good old Pascal Blanquet himself warned us of the potential return to the 70s type environment in terms of stagflation and hyperinflation. And I think we had a pretty stark wake-up call from John Kerry this morning as to the potential cost of climate change, which, if I heard correctly, is supposed to be much higher than the cost of World War II, which gives an interesting benchmark. More seriously, I think the conversation we had over the last 2 days gives us a dynamic model to read and analyze the context in which we live. The key forces have been identified for many years. You know, it's around globalization, technological change, aging, economic growth, and those forces seem to have generated unwanted outcome. Climate change or global warming, social inequalities, I think we heard a lot about those today, resulting in what many will see as a fundamental challenge to the political and economic structures in which we've been operating over the last 40 years. So the big question that this whole begs is the new frontier. How can we make sure that they don't look like the very ancient borders? This environment creates an even more challenging context for us investment professionals. What we heard is that the low yield environment we're in is going to continue for the foreseeable future. So looking for yield is ever more of a challenge. And if that wasn't enough, we also now have to factor in how do we contribute positively to the unwanted change that are threatening the systems as we have enjoyed it? And lastly, we have to fight our own personal biases. So that's a pretty heavy agenda for investment professionals. There is hope, and I think those last 2 days gave us a lot of illustration that we can have hope, that not everything is doom and gloom, that we won't return to the ancient borders. The first one, I think, is the very inspirational call we heard this morning from John Kerry to take action, and that the private sector can contribute very significantly to that change. I think we had lots of real-life examples that change is actually happening. You know, the transformation of ENGIE as a new energy leader, the example of green bonds, the fact that central banks are taking action. I thought that the conversation between François Villerat-Gallo and Professor Nordhaus was very enlightening in that context and could contribute to significantly changing the environment we work in. And lastly, I think we have our own perspective on how these dynamics are shaping, but I found it very refreshing to hear the perspective of Lionel Zinzou yesterday, because depending on your vantage point, you can take a much more positive attitude towards what we are currently facing. And we collectively certainly are the change agents that will contribute to improving the world we live in. In that journey, you can of course count on Amundi, and we are more than willing to partner with you to develop new innovative solutions to address those challenges. And that's the heart of the conversation that we keep having with you, and that we will keep having over the next year. So next year, on June 4th and 5th, 2020, we will reconvene to take stock of our progress. And I hope we will have very positive news to report. Until then, so mark your calendar, June 4th and 5th, 2020, and see you next year. Bye. Thank you.